Well, welcome back, everybody, to Accelerating Lower Middle Market Value. We are so excited to have our guest today, Jadin Dyck. Jadin, along with his father, acquired an irrigation pump business in 2015. They initially focused on repairing and selling irrigation pumps and then expanded into building axial flow flood water pumps. And we're definitely going to have him expand on exactly what that means. In 2018, they launched Daiko Pumps, a portable pump for irrigation and floodwater removal. They further diversified by creating drilling attachments for excavators and recently rebranded their pump division to Daiko Pumps and Equipment. In 2017, they founded Daiko Ventures, a company that manufactures heavy-duty workbenches and storage solutions to enhance workplace efficiency. So obviously, Jadin comes from a very diverse business, and we are so excited to have him on here to really talk about how they've grown this business, how they diversified it. Diversification is a great value maximization strategy, but really interested in understanding more about Jadin's business, and especially a family business as well, that there's a lot of unique nuances to that. So thank you, Jadin, for joining us. So glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, yeah, let's get to it. So Jadin, we always like to start these episodes. We always like to start the podcast. We really want to understand your personal journey and how you arrived at where you're at with Daiko today, that, operating in your family's business. That tell us a little bit about your background and journey of how you've gotten to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so kind of an interesting story. Me and my father, we worked for several years at a blueberry farm locally here. My dad managed the farm and I worked there with him. And one day, so they have irrigation pumps there that to irrigate the blueberries and stuff. And one day, the guy that fixed their pumps, he drove up to where my dad was there, and he said, "Hey," he said, "this is the last pump I'm doing. I'm doing something else, and I want to sell the business." And
Wow.
so, literally, my dad had kind of been looking for, something else to do, something that'd be his own thing at that point in time. Anyway, he's had businesses in the past, so him and the guy made a deal, and he bought the crane truck from the guy. That's pretty much all the equipment we got in the beginning. Was we bought a crane truck from the guy. Yeah, started pulling well pumps, irrigation pumps, with that thing and fixing them, putting them back in, and then we started selling new irrigation pumps to new farms and stuff like that. And yeah, that's how we got started.
That's amazing. That's pretty serendipitous that just he was fixing the last pump and talked with you all, out
Yeah,
managing the ranch, and just decided to sell his business right there. That's pretty incredible. That's awesome.
yeah, no, it is.
That's a heck of a, story as to how you all started the business. That give us a little background too. You were helping your dad manage a blueberry ranch, and that's something I'm very familiar with myself. That, prior to starting my business, I was a agribusiness CFO and head of supply chain, and I, worked with a lot of organic blueberry growers to help them market and sell their products to big retailers. But also, we were involved in farm management activities, and so just really familiar with it. I'm interested to understand your family's, background and history and the blueberry ranch management. Like, what got you into that, and how did you land there and do that yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So, my dad actually had a excavating business. Well, to back up even further, maybe in 2005, we moved to Florida from Canada,
Got it.
Manitoba, Canada. And,
That's a big move.
yeah, it is. Yeah. So we moved here. My dad bought a excavating company. And so he did excavating, land clearing, all that kind of stuff. And then, in 2008, when the economy crashed, our local economy here went to almost nothing, and he ended up having to shut it down. And right at that time, our neighbor was the manager of this blueberry farm, and so he offered my dad a job. So yeah, kind of got us through some of those rough years of '08 and all that.
Got it. Makes complete sense. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. So yeah, tell us a little bit. We described to our audience a bit about, how the business has grown, how, the Daiko group of companies has grown. Tell us, we introduced the axial flood flow water pump. Tell us exactly what that is. What does it do? that yeah, would love to technically understand a bit more.
Yeah, so an axial flow pump, they're called a lot of different things. They're called floodwater pumps, ditch pumps. There's all kinds of names out there for them. But pretty much, if you can envision what a fan looks like, it's got blades that are slanted. So we build an impeller that looks very similar to that. Put it on the bottom of the pump, and then we put a gear head and either run it with a diesel engine or with an electric motor. And the farmers use it here. We get a lot of rain in the summertime, get a hurricane or something like that. So
Yep.
if they don't have a way to pump out their water quickly, then their crops will flood or their field will flood.
Yep.
And so that's what these pumps mainly do. Just a big fabricated pump that we build here in the shop. We make everything pretty much ourselves here. And yeah, just a big pump that pumps high volumes of water.
And so, just to be sure, you're doing both the service itself of the pump. Are you doing the service itself of actually operating the pumps and the manufacturing, or are you just doing the manufacturing at this point?
So we manufacture and service, but we do not run the pumps on a day-to-day basis. That typically would be the farm operator or something like that. But yeah, we use a crane truck, go out, pull them when they're broken, bring them in, fix them, put them back in. We build complete pump stations, so everything from driving in piles and putting on platforms to set the pumps. We do turnkey installations and repair.
Got it. Yeah, that's really interesting. I originally being from California and growing up in agribusiness over there, that the concept that we had too much water was never a problem, but you all deal with the idea of too much water, and so yeah, these floodwater pumps are just so critical of removing water that a lot of people I think for farms that yeah you need water, but they don't realize that you can certainly have way too much water and that it could be damaging for the plants and can seriously damage the crop, and so yeah, I could see the serious value in what you all bring to the ranches and the farms and the growers down there. So that's great. I'd like to understand a little bit more. What inspired you, your dad, to develop and launch Daiko Pumps in 2018, and how has that product impacted your customers? That I think you've given us a little bit of background about this, but it seems like you definitely went from servicing these pumps to eventually manufacturing, et cetera. Like, tell us a little bit about that evolution, about how you came to doing a whole lot more than just the servicing of the pumps.
Sure. Yeah, maybe I'll back up just a little bit. So we bought the irrigation business, and my dad comes from a manufacturing background. Maybe we can elaborate on that a little bit more later. But he comes from a manufacturing background where they built, quite a few things, mechanical stuff. And one day, we were working for a farmer, I think on an irrigation pump, and he said, "Hey, our axial flow pump just broke down." He said, "You think y'all could fix it?" Because he was having a hard time finding somebody to repair it. And so yeah, we just winged it. We said, "Sure, we'll fix it."
Yeah.
We went and pulled it out, brought it to the shop, and we had a lathe and stuff anyway, equipment for our turbine pumps, for irrigation pumps, fixing those. And yeah, we looked at it, fixed it up, put it back in, and kind of funny, but that pump has never given problems since we put
That's
it back
awesome.
in. That's been probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And yeah, we looked at that and realized there was a need for somebody building them also. So that's kind of when we started building the axial flow pumps. Now, it's probably about 2 or 3 years after that when we started building the Daiko pump. So the Daiko pump is more of a portable style pump. You can either hook it up to a tractor, run it on the PTO, or there will be an engine on it, but it typically has wheels and you can move it from place to place, kind of a backup emergency pump. And then also, like we've sold some to the Delta area where they use them for irrigating their crops.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. That I love kind of the story of you saw a need that, and it seemed like somebody came and sold your business, sold the original business to your dad, while you were out working, and managing the farm, the blueberry farm, and like you said, that there's a background of owning previous businesses, but it feels like a lot of your family story of getting these businesses started is just yeah, there was an opportunity, and you all just kind of jumped at it. And then when you saw a need, you jumped at it, and you didn't say no, you didn't hesitate. When you all see needs, you take, a shot at it, and you see what you can do. And there's just not a hesitation. I think, there's a lot of people that when they're thinking about starting their business or even growing their business, they can have hesitation that, hey, I may not be good enough for that, or I may not be good enough for this. But the reality is you all just saw a need and you jumped at it. And I think that's the theme that I keep hearing from you all, that's pretty neat and amazing, that that's how you've grown. And I would say to our audience, like, that is how you continue to grow. That if you see a need, that at the end of the day somebody needs their need service, that you don't have to be an expert. You took a stab at working on that first pump, and that axial flow water pump, and tried to fix it, and you just ran with it. And and sometimes
Yeah.
it's just starting something and go. Would you agree upon what I'm saying here?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing with transitioning from, well, we still do the irrigation pumps to this day, but starting the second line of pumps, we really didn't have to go buy any different equipment or really any more equipment. The investment to get into it, we already had the stuff. And that's what I, like to tell people, that if you're doing something already and you want to grow your business, either grow that thing or find something that you can add alongside it, that you already have the machines. A lot of shops, their machines don't run at 100% efficiency. Usually there's something they could add to the mix to keep their shop running.
That makes complete sense. And I guess that kind of, yeah, let's expand upon that, because not only do you all focus on pumps, there's Daiko Ventures with workbenches. You also, have an excavation side of your business. That it has all of this resulted from the aspect of just, managing the capacity of your shop, your employees, and making sure that, you're fully utilizing their capacity? Or was there other reasons that you ventured into these other areas?
Well, you continually want to grow a business. You want to grow it to the point where I knew I didn't want to go out on the crane truck every day and pull pumps.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was our, let's put it this way, it's the least resistance path to growth, was to add on, those pump lines that we really didn't need to add any more equipment to. Is just hiring a couple more employees to keep up with it. And so, yeah, I think that's been a key to our growth here.
Got it. Great. Well, I'd love to personally understand a bit more. I mean, yeah, you have the pumps, but in 2017, you all started Daiko Ventures, and you manufacture heavy duty workbenches. And yeah, I guess to what you said, that you want to expand, and you want to grow areas of the business, especially for ownership, that, what are the opportunities for growth, that there might be limitations in the market. And so you try to venture out and do other things. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the story of starting Daiko Ventures as a part of the group of family, the family of companies that, yeah, tell us about that. That workbenches is pretty unique to some of the pumps and some of the other things you do. So yeah, what made, for the start of Daiko Ventures and workbenches and all that?
Sure. Well, maybe I'll back up quite a bit. That might help bring this all together. But when we were in Canada, my dad and one of my uncles actually built a couple of workbenches that are similar to what we build today. They needed some for their shop for doing maintenance, and they also had some friends that wanted some. So I think they built. I have to ask my dad for sure, but I think they built 4 or 5 workbenches to begin with, just in their shop. A couple of them, and I think they built a few more after that. But anyway, they were busy with their other business ventures, so they didn't really push it a lot. But then in I think like 2003, 2004, two of my uncles and my grandpa started manufacturing them back in Canada.
Got it.
They still manufacture them today up there, pretty much the same style. And so that was always in the back of my dad's mind, was to eventually start doing that down here, because whatever, he kind of had a hand in inventing them and getting them going and figuring out them. And so once we got our pump business up and running again, we had most of the equipment. We had a brake and plasma table and different stuff that we were building pumps with. So again, we really didn't have to buy a lot of extra shop equipment to get
Got it.
the workbenches going. So that's kind of the background on that.
I think, yeah, I back to the theme of what you said, like, you're using some of your existing capacity, you have the equipment, you have the capabilities to do some of this stuff. And I think, there's a lot of businesses out there, whether it's agribusinesses or landscaping businesses, et cetera, that especially there can be a heavy amount of seasonality to what they do, right? And there has to be some diversification in regards to their service or their product offerings, because they make all their money, in a couple months of the year, but they have all this excess capacity or these key employees that they want to keep around, and so they have to create these different product lines, and or they should, I should say, or different service lines. And I like that you all have done that. That, I mean, to the point, like, you're manufacturing the pumps and you're servicing. That's good. A lot of activity for the pumps, I'm sure, occurs during the summertime when you get this hurricane weather that comes through, and so being able to continuously sell the workbenches all year round, and keep manufacturing them and producing them and selling them, I'm sure that it creates a really great benefit for your business. And I think that's a theme that I encourage our audience to be thinking about, is that how you may be running something today, but consistently ask the question of what your team can do and the capacity that you have in your operations with your equipment, your team, et cetera. What are other things that you can do to create multiple revenue streams that can help your business be sustainable? And Jadin and the team at Daiko have done a lot of that, so that's great to hear. I am interested, kind of understanding, like, what do sales look like for your business, in the sense of how do you go about selling your different products and services amongst the Daiko group of companies? Like, how are you making people aware of what you do, and bringing in additional revenue? Is it word of mouth? Is it you're doing active marketing? What does it look like for you? What are you finding success in?
Sure. So sales is something that we're always working on, and
Yeah.
it is one of the most difficult keys of a business. On the pump side, we're pretty much word of mouth. We've done a few local trade shows, a bit of local advertising, but I would say most of our work is word of mouth, or one of us or one of our employees stopping in at farms and introducing ourselves. On the workbench side of things, we go to trade shows, and we also um, have an online presence. So yeah, sales. I'm not gonna say I'm any expert on sales, but that is something we're continually working on, and it is a challenge, and yet it is a key aspect to your company, because without sales, you don't have anything. So
Yep. Absolutely. I guess I'm interested. You've evolved this group of businesses quite a bit over the last few years. What does growth look like for the Daiko group of companies? That what are the next step plans for you all, and what are you willing to share with our audience about, like, some of the major things that you're thinking about that you're looking to do with the business?
yeah, sure. So we are about to launch our truck toolboxes. That's going to be another product on the workbenches and parts cabinets. So we're going to be launching that here in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks, and those are going to be sold online and at a lot of dealers. We're starting to run out of shop space where we're at, so probably in the next couple of years we are planning to build a new facility, hopefully with some new equipment and stuff like that. So yeah, our growth has been, seems like throughout the years we grow a lot one year, and then the next year it's, we grow a little bit, but it's more steady, and then the next year we grow fairly steeply again. And last year I think we almost doubled our sales over the year before,
Wow.
and this year we'll be close to doubling it again. Probably not quite close to it.
Wow, that's great growth. Yeah, awesome. That's good to hear. I would like to understand, you do have these various ventures going on, right? That you have these different product lines, throughout the group of companies. That I think one question our audience probably has, it's great to have some of this diversification, so that, you keep your shop and your employees and everything at capacity, but how do you navigate the complexity of that? That, workbenches is quite a bit different than, say, pumps. And granted, you can do everything in one shop, et cetera, but, like, Yeah, how do you navigate the complexity of selling very different products like that? What advice do you have for our audience?
Yeah, probably one of the biggest reasons we've been able to do that is because we are a family business. So there's, a few of us that can juggle different things. And then also we have hired, we've hired someone to run the pump company, and they run the day-to-day operations of that pump company fairly much on their own. So we still are involved in it and, help with sales and help here and there, but he pretty much does all the day-to-day stuff. And that's key. I mean, as you're growing, you got to find those key people to come in and help take that load off of you. He came in about a year ago, and that's really when I was able to really step into the workbenches and put my full focus on doing that. Up until a year ago, it's kind of been a thing we're working on, but it's probably been a project that's been on the back burner. And so yeah, as you grow and you add products, you got to delegate because I can't do everything one day. So
Yep. No, I a continuous theme that we're hearing from some of our guests is that the way that they've grown is by hiring key team members that have been able to enable them to grow, that to get to that next step, that have allowed them to focus on other things. That I do want to ask though, that in a family business, whether it's a family business or not, that hiring that person that takes over the day to day operations, for some business owners that can be a really challenging thing because their business is their baby, right? And they're handing over all aspects of that service or product delivery and customer satisfaction to somebody. And so that, obviously it creates benefit and value that the owners can then step into other ventures and to look to other growth initiatives, but they're handing something off to somebody. What was that like for you all? Was that a pretty easy decision, or was that a difficult decision to eventually hire that person?
well, it was an easy decision to hire them, but yeah, I mean it always is a challenge to, you know, as a business owner, you've been there from the beginning. You've been through all the pain and heartache of getting something going, and yeah, to hand it off can be scary. And yet, I would say it's very important that you find a person that you feel comfortable with handing it off, and also you are gonna have to pay them probably more than you even think you need to pay them to make it work, and incentivize them in a way that that you can hold them accountable, and that they are enthused about doing a good job, because at the end of the day that is the most important role. I mean, one bad experience with a customer can ruin a lot of things. So
Yep.
yeah, finding the key people, and then you got to pay them right to so that they're 100% enthused about making it work.
Absolutely. So, this podcast title is Accelerating Lower Middle Market Value. And, lower middle market is generally defined as businesses between 5 to 50 million in revenue. And so, for our audience, what's one piece of advice you give to other business owners in that, revenue range, in that, market, that are looking to diversify and expand their product lines, that like you have all done, that what are some of the key things that you suggest that they consider? You've kind of gone over some of this, but would love to expand if there's anything more that you would want to tell our audience of what they need to consider about some of that diversification that you all have done.
I would say the biggest thing is work hard on the relationships that you already have with businesses and people. And seems like that's where most of our other products have come from, is from also a customer says, "Hey, I need this," or "I can't get somebody to do this," or that there's a need in your existing relationships that you can fill. And I think that's probably the easiest uh, way to diversification and growth in this kind of industry.
That's such a, I mean, I think people overcomplicate it. And that was an incredibly simple answer, but it's just the truth that, you know, I think it's so important to be inquisitive, to ask questions, to understand yeah, more about your clients' businesses, and just to make sure that you're asking like what are other needs that your team can fulfill that would be of value for them. And it's just such a quick way to put more revenue on the board. And it's so difficult to actually go acquire a new customer. It is incredibly difficult to get new customers, but rather, what can you do with your existing customers? What more can you do for them? What additional needs do they have that you're not covering on today? And so, yeah, I think a lot of people overcomplicate it, but you just gave a beautifully simplistic answer that really understand the needs of your existing relationships and really dive deeper into those relationships. So that's great. I've worked with a lot of family businesses myself, right? I especially we talked a bit about both of our agribusiness background, that especially in farm enterprises that they tend to mostly be family businesses, that there is a movement to where a lot of farming is being funded via other sources and being becoming a bit more commercialized, but there's still a lot of family farms out there. I for example, even my background, I've a group that it was a seventh generation family farm, and I just that's mind blowing that it can be carried down
Wow.
that many generations.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested because some people have a love hate relationship with family businesses, right? And you all are a family business,
Yeah.
and I think that there is personally there's so many pros to a family business, but oftentimes you hear of the cons of a family business, all the difficulties that come with it. But there's so many pros to it. I really want to understand your viewpoint on what are the pros of working with your family, and what is the value of your family business to the marketplace? Like, why is there strength in it being a family business to the marketplace? So can you elaborate for us?
Sure. Yeah. So here a while back, I heard someone talking about partnerships, and again, partnerships. You always hear all the negative stuff, but this guy, he was talking about partnerships, and he said 1 plus 1 in a good partnership isn't 2; it actually equals 11.
Love that.
And that's kind of how I guess we approach it. We each have different roles in the business, and yes, we do butt heads some days. I'm not gonna say that it's all we get along all the time, but I also think if if you do actually get along 100% of the time, you're probably not doing something
Yeah.
right either, because it takes it takes two sides to everything to come to a good decision. Now, there is families or partnerships that no one can they can't ever give in to the other one's idea, and it just absolutely doesn't work. But I think in a family business, if you're willing to consider everybody's idea and you actually have the best interest for the business. Sometimes my idea isn't the best, and sometimes my dad's idea isn't either. But when we bring everything together, we usually can make a fairly good decision to move forward. Whereas if I would have just done it, I might have, messed something up fairly majorly. And so, yeah, it just, it depends on the family, depends on the partner. But everything I've done in life, I've been in a partnership. So,
Great. What what's one thing that you personally really enjoy about working with your dad and your family? That what's you've talked about, the partnership aspect and kind of having diverse mind, diverse thoughts, etc. at the table, diverse insights and decision making. But what's one personal thing that you really enjoy about working with your dad and your family?
well, a lot of families, they're spread out. They don't live in the same area and don't get to see each other that much. And I guess we get to see each other every day,
Yeah.
um, and spend time together. And I would say that manufacturing and what we do runs in our family, runs in our blood. So yeah, we get excited about, doing all these things, building new products, and we all enjoy that. So yeah, when we get together, we just naturally start talking about, building things and designing things and what could be better, and what we could do differently and what's working. And we all kind of have the same mindset, so we can say something and everybody understands what we're saying. So
Yeah, great. Good to hear. Well, we'd like to wrap up these podcasts, these episodes, Jadin, with we always like to ask a question. You know, this is Accelerating Lower Middle Market Value podcast. So, what's one piece of advice you give to CEOs, business owners in the lower middle market who are looking to accelerate their company's growth and create lasting value? That you've given a lot of insights so far, but what's one big tidbit of information that you'd like to share with the audience?
yeah, so I'd say the two biggest things is your relationship with your customers and your key employees, to make sure both of those are happy and have what they need. Because if you can have, I mean, obviously we all know you can't always make everybody happy, but if you can strive to provide a good product, good service, and a very key ingredient to that is your key employees that do that every day. And so I would say those are the two most important aspects of growing a business.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate having you on the show, Jadin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you. Please tell our audience where they can find you if they want to figure out more information about your business, what you do. Yeah, please tell us where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find us on daikoventures.com and daikopumpsandequipment.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jadin, for joining us. It was a real pleasure to have you on the show, and we got to learn about your story and your business story and background. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to this most recent episode of Accelerating Lower Middle Market Value. We hope that you found actionable insights that you can implement today to accelerate your business value. Wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor, Brady CFO. Brady CFO is a team of CFO advisors that help business owners in the lower middle market build the business of their dreams via comprehensive growth strategies and financing that growth. If you'd like to learn more about Brady's CFO advisory services, visit bradycfo.com. Thanks, everybody. Until next time.